Darn right, I always do.
You guys have some sexy voices.
Yeah, we've been practicing.
We're working on this for a while.
All right, gentlemen, let's rock and roll. So,
do it.
since I had two people here, I will let you guys introduce your guys' self real quick, because then we can register a name with the voice.
Perfect.
Who wants to go first? Steve, Craig, Steven. Do you go by Steve or Steven?
You're about to find out, fella.
Okay.
My name is Stephen George Elgin. Put a little Michael in there, Stephen George Michael Elgin. That's my confirmation name. And I go by Steve most of the time.
Okay.
I've been called a lot worse, though. But, yeah, you can call me Steve.
Steve. Okay. That's how this is going to go, fellas.
Yeah, this is exactly how this is going to go.
I'm Craig Kohler. On Facebook, you'd
Jeez.
find me as Craig A. Kohler. I'm Steve's co-host on Hoosier Sophisticate on Friday nights here in St. Louis on WGNU 920 AM. Hoosier Sophisticate podcast on all major podcasting platforms. And other than that, I'm just a regular Joe.
Yeah, man, you guys are some sophisticated Hoosiers. And I must say, you have a nice head of hair, Craig.
Oh, thank you. I felt
Shot
like
at
I was
Steve
having
right
a
out of the
good.
gate.
I felt like I was having a good hair day today.
Dude, it's almost like Clark Kent-ish.
I know.
Appreciate that.
There's a lot of hair in the room right now.
The little
Oh,
Superman
my
curl.
I got a lot of hair, so.
I was
You
growing
do.
mine out.
You got
but
big league lettuce. No doubt.
Man, is this whole thing going to be about hair? Because guys.
Show him your body hair.
I have none of that
No, that's
either.
true. He's like a porpoise.
Yeah,
He's famously like a
smooth.
porpoise.
I didn't learn. Funny story. I didn't learn to swim till later in life, but turns out I'm pretty good at it. End of story. Not that good of a story. Not that good.
Well, you're alive, so you must be great at it.
Yeah, no doubt. I had a few traumatic experiences as a child with swimming. Made me afraid of the water. And then you guys get it. We're muscular guys, okay? We're dense, muscular guys. You guys get it. We sink, yeah. I remember I had a bigger friend, and we're at the pool, and we're treading water, and this guy's like, he could tread water for days, but I could outdo him in every athletic thing. And I'm like, I just can't tread water. Like, you're good, man. And some lady comes walking by, and she's like, you know why he can tread better than you, right? And I'm like, no, what's the deal? And she's like, he's fat. And I was like,
Just more buoyant.
okay, yeah. And then it really took him down a notch. And we immediately stopped being friends after that. So
You
all
relayed
good.
the information to him?
he was sitting right there. She said it
Oh,
right
like
in
he
both
wasn't
of our
even there.
faces.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
She said it right both on our faces.
Cold-blooded.
It was at the apartment complex off of in South County, where all the street names have alcohol names or whatever. It's like Heineken and
That I believe that place exists in South County. I've never seen it, but
Butler Hill. Shout out to Butler Hill.
Like true Jeffco, South County.
No, this is right off of 55 in Butler,
Butler Hill. That's
Is that Jefferson County?
no
No.
I don't know.
South County.
I'm just guessing.
You're a North Sider.
Me? I'm actually from Jefferson City.
Yeah, where are you
but-
from? Let's get into
Yeah,
this.
let's talk about that. So I love long walks on the beach.
Okay.
I grew up in Jefferson City, and then I moved here to go to school for wrestling. And I've just kind of been here ever since. I left for a year to live in San Antonio, and then I came back to kick off my fight career.
What school did you wrestle at here in St. Louis? Lindenwood?
Lindenwood. Real briefly.
Right
Real
on.
briefly. Yeah, dude. So I was a dumbass kid, and I was like, oh, man, this pussy is amazing. This must be forever.
My hair is amazing. All this pussy that's gravitating to all of this.
No, just the one high school sweetheart. I thought this was
Oh, really?
Yeah, this must be
okay.
forever, dude. So we got married, had a couple kids. I had my son whenever I was 20.
How
so
old
I
are you
was
now?
31. I'll be 32 in December.
Dude, you look great.
Oh, I thought you were way younger than
Yeah,
us.
you look phenomenal.
Thanks, dude.
And
Right on.
you're a fighter?
Yeah, I fought for a decade.
Cool.
Your face is still so nice.
I got some scars. I've been.
I know,
I've been
but they're
cut
like
up.
Those
they're
give
like
you character.
Khal
They're like
Drogo. Yeah, you get
it.
He gets it.
Oh gosh. Just
Khal
the-
Drogo scars.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh, I got one right here, and this one makes me look sexier right by my dimple. Kind of draws attention to it. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, so I'm pretty lame because of that. But yeah, man, I've just been here for fucking ever now. I guess it feels like.
Good.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you here.
But we're not
Screw
here to.
you, Jeff City. We got him now.
Yeah. So I mean,
Picked him up off of waivers.
you guys count this as North County? Is this?
Sure.
I mean, this isn't technically North County though.
Anything
right?
above 40.
It's
what
like,
county is it? Because, I mean, this is like, for me, this is north.
This is very north. This is to me this is like the edge of North County. It's like Midwest County.
Yeah, no doubt. 'Cause
Okay.
Craig drives me everywhere. I have no idea where we're at
It's a role-playing thing that we
on a
do.
map. I have no idea. We could
He
be
makes
anywhere.
me wear a little cabbie hat. And it's kind of weird, but it's also somewhat
I
arousing.
smoke cigarettes out of a long wand, and I'm like, you're going the wrong way.
I get that 100%. That's my best friend and I's relationship growing up. He doesn't know where anything is because I just drove everywhere.
I like driving.
Yeah.
I don't.
I used to just drive around and we would just smoke blunts and just get lost. That was my favorite pastime growing up.
Damn right, dude.
Back road.
Yep.
Or go find like the big houses. Like I remember doing. I grew up I grew up here in St. Louis, South City. Moved away when I was a freshman in high school to Springfield. And so when I was put into Springfield, it was very suburban where I lived, but you were 3 minutes away from a lot more rural area.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I would just get lost on these back roads, and all of a sudden, like, bam, giant house would just pop up in the
Out of
hill.
nowhere,
like
yeah.
10,000, 12,000 square feet. I'm like, this is just somebody's little getaway, huh? But
Imagine the drugs they're doing in that place.
copious amounts.
It's getting wild.
But no, I'm with you, man. Like driving back road and getting lost.
Oh,
I like
sure.
picking a direction and just going
Yeah.
and see where you end up. Like if you got a weekend, you want like, I want to do a little weekend trip. It's awesome. Just jump in your car and just
Yeah.
be spontaneous about it.
It is. But hey, guys, we're not here about me. We're here for you. I want to talk about you guys.
All right.
I mean,
Okay,
it is the Craig and Steve show right now. I know.
It's
You're-
tough.
It's the
you're-
Steve show.
you're-
Tough, man.
I
It's
know
Craig's show.
I know you're
Craig's
bashful. I know you guys are bashful, but
Craig's the best.
you guys are doing some cool ass shit with Hoosier Sophisticate. Blah.
Yeah, it's hard. We mess it up too.
I can't say
Our
it.
producer, it tongues him up all the time.
It tongues him up
like
every-
just lathers
every
him.
night?
Just up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tongues
Yes.
them. Hoosier Sophisticate.
He stumbles on it quite often, so don't feel bad.
Yeah. So how'd this come about?
Well, funny you should ask that. I've always had a penchant for comedy. I think we all know that. But no,
Couldn't tell.
I wrote in, tried to write these emails into 590 AM. They had this morning show that it was on for a while, and then like it went away, and I lost touch of it. But they always had this email competition at the end of the day that I would always kind of listen to and be like, oh, this is, these are pretty funny. I wonder if I could get one read. Because my cousin would call in, and that's Joe Parisi. Shout out to Joe Parisi. You had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Awesome dude. He wrote in as well. I didn't even know it was him. And we had this whole battle going back and forth before we realized it was each other. Mm-hmm. So my buddy ends up seeing one of the guys from the radio show at a Blues game, says, hey, you should start reading this guy's stuff. They start reading my stuff on the email of the day. I win a few times, go on a little run. Then I actually go on an actual run for the Blues and like all this just stupid, just self, like, hey, look at me. Look at what Steve's doing,
It's right up your alley.
That's what I was doing. But, I'm rallying the city for the Blues. We didn't win it, but I got a lot of good feelings about this year, boys.
This is gonna be the one.
This is the year, boys. This is the year, boys. So I did this run, got some, I love the attention. You know what I mean? And then somebody donated money in the honor that I just ran in cut off jean shorts and a half shirt. Ran around. I broke my wrist playing kickball.
Construction boots, right?
Yeah,
Your
hiking
construction boots.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I broke my arm playing kickball. This was the precursor that did everything. So if I didn't break my arm, I wouldn't have had this time off work till I could start writing these emails in to start winning all these like little email of the day prizes. And they play it off like it's this big deal. And that's what, it becomes this big deal because the show plays it off. And they get like 600,000 downloads a month. It's like they're a nice little, they've carved out a nice little piece.
So what were these emails like? What
Oh, God.
were they just funny emails, or like do you have some samples, or I know you just remember the best
I do.
one.
Like one of my favorites is there's a guy, Doug Vaughn, the Channel 4 KMOV sports host. His favorite player is Ken Boyer. Okay. So, and all the emails usually go after Doug. Say, hey, Doug, you got a nice butt. I'd like to do stuff, to it.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's all-
sexually harassing a pentanarian sportscaster that like it's just sexually harassing him the whole time, and he's just such a
He's
good
like, that's
straight
enough.
man. He's just
That's
such a good
enough.
straight
He's got kids. He's just trying to live the best life he can, and he's being sexually harassed on the daily on this radio
appalled,
show.
He's appalled, but kind of faux appalled at this
Yes.
whole
he plays
following of the
along.
show. Like, what kind of idiot listens to this show, kind of thing. One of the funniest guys, I think, for
Yeah.
your dollar, one of the funniest guys in St.
Someone
Louis.
to think about getting on the podcast. He's
I've never heard of him.
amazing. Just a great overall
Channel
dude
4 news
too.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a sports guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I wrote an email that said his favorite baseball player was Ken Boyer, so I played off of that. And, I wanted to come out of left field because what I went into it, once I got one read and once I won a few, I was like, okay, that gives me some validation. I am funny. I am a little bit funny. Like, these masses think I'm funny. Then I had to start switching up, so I had characters like Nick the 9-year-old, Deacon Pete, Carl from Kansas City. But I wrote this one to Doug that was, hey, I remember back in the day, this is a true story is how I played it off. This is a true story back in the day. I remember my grandpa used to tell me this story about Ken Boyer. He saw him in an ice cream shop after the game, just back when the players would just, my grandpa was in the ice cream shop in one of those caps with the propeller on the top. And Doug Vaughn, they're reading this, and Doug's like, oh, Ken Boyer, this is a good, like, he's into it. He's like, I'm going to actually hear a good email about a story about baseball. I'm on a sports show at this time. It was still kind of a sports show. And it's always been kind of a variety show, but that still, I think like they've shifted. And so I said, oh, and Ken Boyer comes up and he goes, hey, kiddo. And I turned to him and said, oh, Ken Boyer. And he's like, can I buy you an ice cream? And I'm like, yeah, sure, but why are you wearing that feed bag and assless chaps? And Doug Vaughn's like, no, you do not talk about Ken Boyer that way. So I tried to, sneak up on him at times, do different things. I would write songs. Like they had Darren Atkins is this guy, Peoria Plowboy. He was their producer who became this character on the show, big cannabis advocate without even knowing it. Like had 600,000 downloads listening to him talk about cannabis when all of them were like, what's up with the cannabis thing? And he just kind of smoked and kind of just knew what was going on. So he, unbeknownst, became like one of the biggest voices.
It was a great spot because the demographic that he was reaching was not a very cannabis-centric demographic.
Not at
You're
all.
talking about much more middle-aged audience, a lot more country
Sports
club.
show.
Yeah.
Golf fans.
Those are the
Not to
people
say
who
that that's
need the
not happening,
education.
but he definitely changed a lot of minds. And whenever one person would dig in, we covered this a little bit on our show last week, but whenever one person would dig in against him, he's like, I just hammer him with facts. And I'm like, yeah, and whether or not you change that person's mind doesn't matter. He's always got 6,000 or 7,000 people seeing what he's doing on social media.
Yeah, and that's what matters.
And he's also reaching 600,000 downloads and however many people terrestrial radio. So it was like he didn't. You're right. He didn't realize how powerful of a message he had. Yeah.
And so I wrote songs for him. Like Darren the Plowboy was Frosty the Snowman and talked about how much weed he smoked. And he had like a great work ethic and just as like an all-around good guy. So he was a great
I know a lot of good drug dealers.
advocate.
Yeah, he was a great advocate for it. So that's that. And then they asked me, they said they had some time opening up. This guy, Buck Swope from the show, said he was going to do a show, which was like a recap show. And I was like, I'd love to have my own little show about TMA. I was just going to do my own thing. So I got a show at 11 o'clock on Friday nights, called it The Changing Station.
Okay.
It would play on a lot of my emails dealt with stepdads. Like I was always talking about my stepdad. I was like Doug Vaughn also is like, build the wall, like that type of guy, you know, like we got to keep America safe, just kind of.
But totally lovable.
Yeah, kind of like our uncle who's like, okay, bud, I still love you, but Jesus Christ, lay off the Fox News and the Rush Limbaugh or whatever. Like, I get it. Some of it's okay, but so one of the emails, one of my favorites too, is like, hey, me and my stepdad, we're out, we're masons. And we're out building this masonry wall, and we're building it all around Kirkwood. So I hope you're, hope you're happy about it, Mr. Vaughn. I go, well, I guess we will be building it if we can keep our fingers out of each other. And he went into a giggle fit for a minute. And Tim McKernan, the guy who runs the show, he's like, "That's what did it? Like that got you?" So then I had a show at 11, and the first or second show. Shout out to Deke Dotem. We did a banana eating contest on the radio. We were like, I got 9 inches. And then we're like, the one dude ate the whole thing. He just fit the whole thing down there. And so it became that. And then I saw him, Craig A. Kohler on Facebook. And we had all the same friends, all of the same connections. I was
80 mutual friends.
How do I not know this guy? Like, I have to know him. And he had something about ayahuasca had come up, and he said, "Oh, I ceremonied one time," or I forget how it even came up. And so I go, "Will you come on the show to talk about ayahuasca?" Because then I started to get in. I was like, "Oh, I can talk about whatever I want at 11 o'clock. I want to become this weird show that people might catch." Because we were big in the pizza delivery guy, like any Alicia's
That was
pizza,
the one
they'd
benefit
call
of
in
that
and be
time
like,
slot,
"Whoa."
man. Like there
They'd be
was.
like, "Whoa, man, what, you guys talking about mushrooms? Oh, is this for real?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're on the radio."
So how long were you doing the show at this point?
This is all about 3 years
months.
ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago, and he was probably doing the show. It was probably in the third month that he asked me to be on.
Okay.
He'd been following me on social media for a while before that. So we actually grew up.
Yeah.
St. Louis is weird, man, because, all of the neighborhoods are segmented by parishes. And so people think that the whole question about asking where you went to school high school is funny and very St. Louis. But like if you grew up in South City, it's really where'd you go to grade school? And that's how you place people in their neighborhoods where they live throughout the city, And I mean, but it's not a derogatory thing. Like if I were to say something like Steve went to St. Boniface, I went to Resurrection. As an adult with a car, we were a 5-6 minute drive from one another.
Yeah.
If that.
But I mean, as kids growing up, we were miles away. But all of our friends, I moved away my freshman year of high school, so pretty much every kid from my class, every boy, we all went to St. Mary's, an all-boys school, which is like the Catholic school for South City boys, especially if they wanted to be in athletics or whatever. Mm-hmm. Steve ended up going to CBC, but all of his buddies went to St. Mary's.
My whole class went to St.
So all
Mary's.
his grade school buddies and all my grade school buddies all went to the same school, and they all hung out. And definitely guaranteed, had I stayed in St. Louis, Steve and I would have been hanging out by the end of the freshman, probably another couple of months.
Freshman year, I remember going to a St. Mary's party, Scotty Smith, and there was this guy, jackal with like a Clark Kentian type haircut. I vaguely remember it, one of those things. And he had all the Jello shots. He's like, "I'm gonna do all the Jello shots."
That was definitely not me.
I'm gonna do all the Jello shots.
Just like that too.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm the Jello shot king," and I was like, "Is that something to be proud of?" Like,
are you convinced that was me?
No, I just made that up.
No, because he did say that. Like,
there was a party
there
where
is a chance where
at
we were
Scott
at
Smith's where I
think you saw me. That's
maybe.
Possible. But anyway, so
I kissed a guy who looked just like you.
We had all of these, all these mutual friends. Oh, yeah, that was
you. That was you.
Yeah.
That was you.
We had all these mutual friends. We came together, and he said my dad was dying at the time, so I'm writing my feelings every day on Facebook, and just like shit's just pouring out of me.
Yeah.
But in a great, beautiful way. Like in a totally the best I've ever written sort of way.
Whenever you're in a really deep place, Facebook's the place to go.
Well,
that's when you do your best writing.
For sure. And
sometimes
I wrote posts that I didn't share with anybody. I just wrote them so that it was just logged. It comes up in my memories or whatever. The diary can remind me.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if it's the idea that it's like, even if you don't hit post or you don't intend to hit post, it's like the idea that it's like a public confession.
Yeah. You're literally taking it out of you and putting it on something else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that there's something to that. I was talking the other day about how, somebody was talking to me about how they have a hard time navigating anger. And I'm like, I don't do anger much, but I do morose. And I think I'm addicted to morose sometimes.
What's
because
morose?
Like, just super sad, almost depressed.
Oh, okay.
But I've never really considered myself depressed. But like in those moments, but when that would happen, like I'm listening to much more lyrical music, like The National or something like that. I'm inspired by these poets that are writing these songs that.
Yeah.
He's got this black trench coat he always wears, and this beekeeper's helmet, which is a weird choice, but
that's when I turn it up a little notch. But I think Steve would he would testify that for the most part, I listen to sad music, but I'm a generally pretty happy and
happiest dude ever.
Shit really doesn't shake me, but I do sad sometimes. And that's when I write my best. And so, like, at that time, I was putting a lot of stuff out there, and my circle grew great. I was in a really good headspace, kind of meditating through my dad's whole thing, trying to figure out this mortality, have the opportunity to do ayahuasca, do this session, have, like, one of the most, transcendental experiences of my existence.
Was that in the country, or was that out of
It was in the country, yeah. It was a little private deal. And it was amazing, man. Like it was amazing. It was done with intention. It was very much, followed the old ways or so. There's so many different. It's a very tribal experience, right?
Yeah.
So each tribe would have their own little spin on how a ceremony would actually look.
Yeah.
Aubrey Marcus has a great podcast about that, talking about how, or I think it was Hamilton Souther on Aubrey Marcus, but he was, just talking about how it's a very tribal existence down there, and so most of their best warriors were also their shaman.
Yeah.
So there was definitely your tribe was definitely influencing your tribe's dominance over other tribes. There was very much a warrior spirit put into this medicine ceremony.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So to say that like it was like the real thing is, that's kind of subjective. But it was
Right.
what I mean was it wasn't disrespected. It was,
Well, you had
it was very
intent,
much
set and setting
definitely
was in
set and
place.
setting intentions. We had Icaros being sung to us the whole time. I
Right.
mean, it was very isolated in the experience, and I had
Right, the medicine was administered.
It was-
I mean, you didn't have to be like in the jungles of Peru.
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
It's still an authentic experience.
It was auto-tune Icarus.
It was,
like,
yeah, it was. It was like T-Pain,
Icarus.
Icaros remix. So I had an unbelievable time. My sister had also done it with me. My dad at this point had been sick with terminal cancer for 7 months. So, I mean, he was only given probably 9 to live. So, and he had just decided to stop chemo. So this kind of all lined up with the dates that we were going to be gone, and we were gone, and we did this. And only to find out, or both of us have an experience where Dad is very much with us in this trip, in this journey.
Yeah.
And so, but then the next morning we turn on our phones, and both of us have 150 missed calls, and our aunts are pissed off. My mom's pissed off. Dad almost died last night, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Dad didn't almost die last night. He was with me.
He was
He
with you
was
guys.
fine. So I came back and at that point my dad's lucidity really started to slip. He after the chemo, it was maybe coincidental that it happened kind of whenever the chemo stopped, because they said the chemo really wasn't doing anything to attack the cancer. But his lucidity was really slipping, and as I was explaining this experience to him, he was lucid in that moment, and he was kind of, I think, absorbing it, and it was a very real moment. So from that, my idea of my mortality, my idea of life and death.
Did your dad have experience with psychedelics?
Oh, I mean, not that he ever shared with me, which is one of my great regrets, because hearing things third person from my dad's one of 15 kids.
Oh shit.
And so when the younger
A lot of
brothers,
stories.
are all of them have out of 15 kids, my dad's identity was the big, tall, handsome athlete, big brother that was going to take care of you type thing. And it's amazing to me that out of these 15 kids, all of them have such unique personalities. Definitely have their similarities, but unique personalities. And I've heard stories about how he had an Irish twin, Joe, who was also just a big monster of a man. And, they were just wild. They were wild. There were 3 boys that were he, Joe, my Uncle Dave. They were all together, and they were just madmen.
Yeah.
Dave was the guy that just climbed a 100-foot tree in 12 seconds or something, just swing down. He was just a madman.
That's why you can't have that many kids.
And
man.
they were always doing stop motion stuff with video. They grew up across from Cronolette Park, so they'd be standing on a tree stump, and then they would jump off and they would fly across to the other tree stump. They were doing those in 73, 72.
Parkour.
Jeez.
So just doing weird film cut and stuff. And my dad was or my uncle was your dad and Uncle Joe, man, they'd be up in their room with, Pink Floyd or Zeppelin on for, days. Just, my dad was an artist. He drew. My Uncle Joe was a piano player. So they would just lock themselves up and just do art, and basically insinuating that I'm sure in 1972, the two artists, the 2 big artists of the family,
dabbled.
Yes, for sure, probably. And I think that it's a shame that it took me this long to find psychedelics to be taken with intention like this, because I would have loved to have had that wouldn't have been a conversation off the table with him. He was that kind of guy. Always had something kind of deep to say about it. So anyway, had that experience. Steve asked me to come share it on the radio show, which is an hour long. It's a very quick show, especially if you're taking callers, or if a caller gets through, that might eat up a quarter of your show.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. Callers would call, and I'd be like, "So what else is new?"
He was
learn
winging
as you
it.
go.
And they'd be like, "I don't know." I'd be like, "Okay, well, we'll just do this on the
But
radio."
we had a lot of fun though, man. It was really cool. But that first show, I go on there to talk about ayahuasca. I meet him out in the parking lot. It's the very first time we've ever met in person. And we just, give each other a big hug. End up getting so blitzed that
was the deal.
when we go in there,
That was the deal.
we go inside of the studio, and Steve's running the show, and it's been like maybe 35 minutes. I don't think I've said anything. I'm pretty sure I haven't said anything this entire time. And, like, Steve tries to turn it to me, and I'm just like,
Yep.
yeah, like just short, like one-word answers, like, and I'm like nodding, like people can see me, like, you know.
I re-listened to our first show, and I was blown away at how little Craig said. Because now
It's like, Craig, you have to talk, dude.
like now the reason I love going on this journey with this dude, and I do, is because he kind of fills in the gaps. Like, I didn't really want to run my own show. If I ran my own show, I did the Steven Internet Show for a while, which my brain is just always just kind of cooking. It's nothing really
Our fans
coherent.
loved it, though.
It's nothing coherent. And I'm all over the place. So for me to run my own show and actually try to, if I was going to do a radio show, it would just be an hour of madness, and be like, now's an interview. Be like, yeah, you were just talking about your dad, seeing him bend over and touch his toes one time while he, you know what I mean? Like, we can't transition that well
Into the interview.
Yeah, okay. So having him on board and being able to, he's got like a polished yet unrefined or unique style to it. It's a nice thing, and I think we play off each other well.
You guys
so
are a
it's
good
been
balance.
great.
Yeah.
I totally.
Thanks, man.
That came across immediately when I met you both, right? So it's for the listeners, like, we all met at the MoCam BizCon Expo at the Union Station, and you guys had a booth set up, and you were doing a ton of interviews the whole time while you were there. But there's a very clear dichotomy in your energy, right? Now, when you first meet each other, like when I first met you guys, I didn't realize how funny Craig was. Like, you had to talk to you longer to realize how much.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I like Steve can warm anybody up
Immediately,
right out the
like,
gate.
you're just
I'm a
you're
shot.
you're telling dick jokes from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm a shot of
he's
Rumpelman.
like, and the thing is a little anecdote here, I guess. We were hanging out over the weekend. We're all just wanting to hang out, and Steve said one of the most horrific things anybody's ever heard, and I don't even like. I have tried to repress it in just days' time so well that I'm not even 100% sure what he said, but I'm pretty sure what he said. And no, he explicitly said it. And I remember, like, in the room, my fiance's like, you really don't hear it until we hear it, do you? You just, and he's like, yep, I just say shit. So I can appreciate that. I really can. As a partner, I'm like, oh, dude, without a doubt, listen, inevitably one day we're going to be sued for something that Steve says. It's almost a guarantee. We're going to be sued for it, or we're going to incur some kind of fines or something. But it's a risk I'm willing to take because a lot of times I find myself, at least the one person laughing in the room. I get the joke. I appreciate the joke. And,
go big or go home.
30% of the jokes that we tell each other could never be repeated, recorded, or just because I think that we're constantly just searching for that shock laugh, but at the same, but it's still smart. It's not just a cheap. It's not just a cheap joke.
Yeah.
And it really takes digging like some dark and twisted situations. I mean, we go to concerts, we have an active shooter protocol. Like, we're just looking the room like, okay, if an active shooter comes in, what's
and it's
the
awful.
play?
No one wants to
What's
hear
the play?
this.
Nobody wants to hear
We're
it.
not heroes in our own protocol. Okay, we're scurrying.
We're survivors.
I do that everywhere. I'm like, where are the exits? Like, where do I need to sit? I'm just a weirdo like that, though.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's so weird.
Well,
I
we
sit
deal
my
with
back to walls, like in restaurants and shit. Like,
I do that. I've done that since forever.
Well,
Yeah.
now knowing veterans too, and knowing that actually is a deal, I'm like, oh, I feel so good about it now. But you gotta have an
Just
active shooter down. Yeah.
You guys have me wondering what you said. What did you say?
Oh, the other night?
Oh God.
I'm almost sorry I even brought it up, but
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say it.
no, I'm not going to say it.
We can move on if you
Can
want
we
to.
say it on this podcast?
Say whatever the fuck you want, dude.
What was that? What were we talking about?
Yeah, you almost need the context. Without the context.
Context is
like,
everything. The problem
I don't
is, like,
think you
I don't
really
get
need
offended
context.
easily. Like, people just take words too serious sometimes.
It was something.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Please remind me, because so much comes out of my mouth. Like, I know what the premise was.
Well, it was like, all I remember was it was an act of defecation.
On my wife's vagina.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna shit on my wife's pussy.
See, like, that's a Dice Clay joke to me. Like, that's a Dice Clay joke.
I felt good about it. I get like this vibration, like we're all just like antenna. I get like this. If I know something hot's coming from up, I don't know what it is yet, but I know I'm like, oh, here comes the shit on your pussy. You know what I mean? Like it just comes out of me, and I feel like
I mean, I'm not one to kink shame. I'm truly
No,
not.
not at all.
But I just remember, like, I'm a big fan of, you know what, like, if you're going to strike out swinging. Don't put the bat on your shoulder.
I will never
You know
go
what
down
I mean?
looking.
And so, like,
I'll hit a
I'm
ball off
looking
the
at
plate.
Steve. He's got a room teed up. The ball's teed up. He just loses eye contact with the ball. He closes his eyes because he's swinging for the stars. And he just swings right through, just a meat fastball. Just swung. He missed it, but he went down swinging. I can't be mad at him for that.
I think I knocked it out of the park.
In my head.
I
I wanted to walk, like, into a wall, like, not bang up against a wall. I wanted to just walk into a wall and just
stay
stop, just in between the drywall. That's where I wanted to live.
I thought you were going to tell the Halloween one
I don't remember that one.
with my mother-in-law.
Oh, Jesus.
What was
criminy.
that? I said something just very vulgar. But here's the deal.
Have you ever said something that's like, oh, fuck, did I just say that? And then
Yes.
just, like, immediately regret that?
Yeah, but
right?
I have the energy to play it off pretty well.
Do you?
Because, see, I get very offended by people who will take the easy dick joke, even though I take it all the time. I feel like I need to write a thesis on the art of the dick joke.
And how to
you know what I
take
mean?
them.
Just thank you. You get it. So there, you can just talk about wieners all day, guys, and it's funny, right? But when you can say something that A, maybe no one's ever heard before, or B, just like we listened to this, Shane Moss and Dave Waite.
Yeah, Shane Moss is awesome. I love his podcast. I saw him at the Helium when he was here probably like a year ago.
He was
he's
just here a few
amazing.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I
He
saw
was
that.
great, man. Yeah, when you saw him for the psychedelics or for the psychedelic
It was
tour.
so he came here twice in that same year. He
Oh,
did the
okay.
psychedelic tour, and then he came back immediately after that. And honestly, dude, I didn't even know who he was. They just sent free tickets out. And I'm like,
Cool.
oh. And then I went. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I fucking just binge listened to his whole.
Oh,
podcast.
He's got a great
He's
podcast,
awesome.
man.
Yeah.
It's a really
So
good
you've
one.
heard that podcast?
Yeah, here we are.
Do you want to hear a joke?
Sure.
It's my dick.
That's a different podcast.
It is.
He doesn't do that on
okay,
Twitter.
yeah.
So Steve gets in the car and he's like, dude, I found his podcast. I'm like, dude, I've been telling you about his podcast. He's like, no, it's called Riffin' with Dave Waite and Dave Waite's friend.
Yeah.
And Dave
It's the
Waite was the
worst.
comedian that was also there with Shane Moss. And Steve was like, you got to hear it. You got to hear it.
It's two
And
comedians.
it's just what it is. It's just two dudes just working goofs, man.
Yeah.
Like they're just trying to write jokes. You
It's
know?
all I ever wanted to be.
And when I listened to it, I totally got why Steve loved it. Like
Yeah.
I totally understood my partner that much more. You know, I'm like,
It's important to know your partner and what they like.
for sure.
All their ins
Gotta
and outs.
communicate.
We communicate.
Gotta communicate.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things we do very well to each other.
Yeah. And it's also a lovingly abusive relationship. Like
Sure.
Like any shit that we are, because the jokes get so perverse. You know, when the two of us experience some real anger or just disappointment, the other person is the perfect fucking punching bag.
It's bad.
And I mean, we get really chippy, typically on show day.
day.
Typically
Yeah.
show day, like the morning of, we're just taking shots at one another. It's always something that just tweaks one of us a little bit, and then it just kind of turns into this.
It's
to
great.
where it turns into material.
It's
Like,
an exercise in being
Petty
a
as fuck.
total cocksucker to someone and knowing that they're like, oh, that was pretty good. All right, you want to say, okay, I will hurt your feelings.
That's what real friends do.
Totally. And he'll tell me shit that no one else will say. You know what I mean? Like, I got a couple real close friends that we can really just bust each other's balls, you know, like guys
yeah,
do.
I've been getting into that busting
Sorry,
category
I'm
lately.
sorry.
It's just ever
Busting
since you showed
them
me that. Ever since you showed me that one video.
Where that chick is totally just punching that guy's
Listen,
beanbag
you're an
with her-
MMA guy,
Yeah.
all right? And this gal is, I mean, she's stacked, dude. She is stout. And this video consists of, we want to do, I think here's the deal, and I would even be willing to bring you in on this. We got to do a YouTube channel of, you remember how like they would do the 2 Girls 1 Cup reaction videos?
Mm-hmm.
The reaction video to this, like, I've not seen a man watch it, and I almost want to get you on camera. Like, this should be something that we bring to your podcast, especially if you're recording here, because it's one of those things where I don't know that I've ever been as entertained as much as the cacophony of faces I've seen men make watching this.
I got it
video.
queued up if we want to do this.
Yeah, can we show it to him without? We don't need to give him the sound or anything. Or I mean, whatever. There's nothing real bad about it, other than it's one of the most absolute horrendous
Let's
things
see.
you've ever seen.
Let's see. So the camera can see your face while you watch it.
Oh shit! Why is that happening? But why am I still? I can't look away though.
Look at how thick and strong her thighs are.
She like does deadlifts for real. She's kicking the shit out of it.
She is. He's sweating. He's sweating right now.
His dick looks swollen.
Look at that.
Is it
obviously,
swollen?
it's definitely swollen. Look at his nuts.
Oh, the knees. Now she's getting kneed. Oh shit. Oh.
Dude. She's got nice technique too, am I right?
Oh, dude, those are good uppercuts, man. Oh yeah, she's just straight soccer kicking it.
She's trying to kick it off his body.
Yeah.
She's trying to kick it right off his body.
Well, it's a surefire way to make your dick grow.
Yeah.
Is that? The reaction video really gets the best.
The end is the best.
The reaction video gets the best.
Oh my God.
At the very end, you have to see the.
I'm sorry.
Dude, that's brutal, dude. I was hurting.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how we got there, but that's how I got into busting because that shit makes me laugh and I can't look away for whatever reason.
I cannot look away.
I've
so
seen
you
it
know we have
40
like
times.
mirrored neurons. Like when we see something, as if we're experiencing it, right? So like I feel like I'm just getting kicked in my dick right there the whole time I'm watching.
I know, right? I've watched it 40
Crazy.
times.
Oh shit! So have you done stand up?
I did a 15-minute set one time.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 13. Well, how long was it? It was right in between 10 and 15 minutes. I did it was not real. It was a bunch of our friends in a place. We had a benefit. So, I mean, it was a real deal. Don't want to discredit the event. It was me telling jokes to my friends. I mean, there are a few strangers in there, but.
Right. But you're not like hitting open mics and like working that grind.
No, I would love to. I just don't. I don't.
I mean, there's
have
a lot
the
of ways to do
fucking
comedy,
time.
man.
I think Steve
It
is
is
living,
a lot of time.
I think Steve is living in like a late night between two ferns style interview comedy show because
Yeah.
like to this day, I mean, we talk every single day. We talk about the show, where we're going. We kind of hash out what we're trying to do over the next month, year, couple years, you know.
Yeah.
And every day he'll say he's got something new that's gonna make me laugh. Like it's gonna make me laugh.
Yeah,
you know?
you found
and that's
your- you
something
found
that
your platform.
that's something that I really appreciate because, and especially people that tuned into the Steven Internet Show. He doesn't do it as much anymore, but like he had sustained viewers when he set a time and stuck to the time, or just kind of fuck with them a little bit and just went like 3 minutes late or 3 minutes early every time just to kind of keep
psychological fucking
just
game.
yeah, he likes to play the game, and I can appreciate that. Like I like that shit. It's warfare.
And he knows. He'll know I'm doing shit, and he'll text me. I'll be like, oh, finally fucked Craig over. At least he doesn't know what I'm doing. He'll be like, hey, nice job backdooring that thing and having the time go 4 minutes late. That'll really make him thirsty. And I'm like, how the hell did he know that I was doing that? So I'm like, I don't
He's a Jedi.
He's got a little bit of that in him, which
For
is
sure.
nice.
I felt that instantly.
Because I'm a jackal and he's the Jedi, and it's a nice little dichotomy, man.
For sure, man. I have a lot of fun. And to
I
be
have a
honest,
lot
though,
of fun,
the
too.
the more that I'm around him, like he still, I embarrass easily. Like as much as like we get, in front of a crowd and I'll say some shit that doesn't really embarrass me or I don't really care how people take it. He comes out of left field often, like at the gas station or wherever, where I'm like, well, like the fucking I just wanted to disappear into the wall thing. Like that is often where I just want to just melt like a puddle and just fucking just squeak under the crack of the door. Like he did not just say that out loud. But without fail, 20 minutes later, I'm dying laughing.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for growth, right?
It's great, but because I'm around that more often, I'm more comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty comfortable dude in my
Yeah.
own skin.
Yeah.
That's just like that one thing that I don't have.
Yeah.
Is that like I people are like, you ought to do man on the street type stuff. I was like, I'll hold a camera for man on the street. I'm not a good straight face guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wear my emotions, pretty
He does.
Yeah.
pretty turbulently.
So how old were you? So was that ayahuasca experience, was that your first psychedelic venture?
No.
Okay, so like you've more like you've done like I guess just like party recreational before
Yeah,
that.
well,
or-
and I'd actually
I'm so curious. About
I'd
your
actually
guys'
taken
history.
I'd actually started to take psilocybin with a bit more intention, probably 2 years leading up to that, maybe 3 years leading up to that. My first psychedelic experience, I was actually kind of a late bloomer. I was probably 18 or 19 when I did it.
Okay.
When you got your first pube?
I did mushrooms. And then it took me a long time to come around on acid or anything like that. Like it just seemed like, I'd just like to stick with anything a caveman can do. And that was really like just
Yeah, like
where
it
I
just
was
has to
at.
grow.
If it comes out of the earth and they did it, I'm in.
That's a safe bet to start, though, right? I mean,
That's kind of where
it's
I was at, and it wasn't until I had maybe some more mind-expanding experiences where I opened my mind up to, the idea of chemicals, which that sounds weird, but I mean we're all chemicals, right? Like that's I say that in that regard. Like I was just reading about Dennis McKenna talking about how like it drives him crazy that people don't say that you can't have a spiritual experience using drugs when we're all made of drugs.
Yeah,
so
drug is such an arbitrary
It's a
term.
weird term, right?
It
and
is.
There's a weird way to put things, and it kind of sounds gross coming out, but people I think with experience would understand where I'm coming from. Like I was explaining to Shane Mossa, the experience I had on ayahuasca, or one of them, like it was like a past life regression where I went through these different stages of existence. And I'm like, and I know I sound crazy. He's like, you don't sound crazy to me.
You only sound crazy to people who have never experienced it.
And it's not hard to find out if that person's experienced it pretty quick. Like that's something that me and my cousin married this brilliant musician, local musician. Shout out to Ryan Watts. He's awesome. Homosexuals lead singer. The Wargs. He's got a Game of Thrones band called the Wargs. They're awesome.
I'm hoping to get pregnant by them.
But when we talked the first time, we both just knew that we'd been to that same place and touched that same thing. And to this day, we live a very we're almost like it seems like a parallel existence where like we're just kind of riding the same until the same. And you'll meet people like that throughout this journey. The more that you kind of open yourself up to that channel, I'm a firm believer in that. Like
100%.
if you find those people that have been there, touched that thing, had that experience, that are still trying themselves to put it into words.
Yeah.
You can build an unspoken bond with somebody like that so quickly just by the understanding that comes along with that.
It's profound. It can be profound. It can be deep. 100%. And words don't do it justice most of the time.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's insufficient. I mean, I think that's why McKenna was so brilliant, because McKenna was great. Like he was really good at taking high doses of psychedelics and other substances. But what made him truly, just a treasure was his grasp of the English language and the way that he would go and find the word, that make that, and say things like the syntactical nature of reality is that the world is made up of words. Our existence is made up of words.
Mind blown.
And so whatever we say does become reality. We make it real. That's what magic is.
Yeah.
The real idea of magic. Anyway, so it was until, I was probably in my late 20s when I started to actually just lay down and try and have some thoughts about what I was doing. I actually had a friend reach out to me and say, what do you know about psilocybin? And at that point, I hadn't had a psychedelic experience in probably 5 years.
Yeah.
5 or 6, maybe probably 4 or 5 years. But, and when he asked me, I said, well, I think everybody should do them at least once. At least twice, actually. I think at least twice.
Okay, three times.
But I mean,
4.
the difference between between the first time and my second time was if I would have let the fear that came along with my first time keep me from trying it again, I would have missed out on so much beauty. And,
when you know what's coming.
That's what's dangerous about just telling anybody, hey, go out and try it, without them really knowing the value of setting and setting an intention and being in a safe space. Because the first time I did it, I wasn't in a safe space, and I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's important stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it's like Joe Weezy's brother,
Teddy.
He said, when he was trying to explain tripping to someone, it's like going to the ocean and the beach, going to Florida and bringing back some salt water and some sand in your hands and bringing it back to someone here and saying,
well, there's the ocean.
Here's what the ocean
and
the beach is like. And they're like, that doesn't quite explain it for me. And you're like, well, it's made up of this and we're all oh, no. So you do. It's a very hard thing to try to explain to somebody.
Dude, I had a psilocybin experience, and I probably took like 7 grams, and I went pretty deep.
Good for you, man.
Well, the issue was, here's my problem. I made plans later in that day. I thought I fucked
No.
up.
That's a bad idea,
You made
man.
plans while on the mushrooms?
Fucked up, dude. I thought I shouldn't have went that deep. I thought maybe I didn't want to drink. I thought maybe it'd be like just like
Had
an
you
enhancer
taken
in my
any
mood.
before?
Yeah. It wasn't my first experience.
So you knew what you were getting into. With
yeah,
7
but I
grams.
wasn't ready to go that deep, and I had been to that place.
7 can be deep.
You go to this place where time doesn't exist, yet you can grasp that. You know what I mean? Like as in this state, like we say infinity, we say forever, but we don't really know, right? But when you go there, like
When you feel it, like you don't. Infinity's not something that you see. right? Like
Yeah.
it's not something you see. It's something
No.
that you
It's not
experience.
tangible.
Dude.
It's something that you experience. It's something that you hear, see, smell, feel
It's-
all at
you
once.
all
like
encompass.
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, all right, well, I'm going to this place, but like I had to be at this place later on, so I started freaking the fuck out because I was trying to get back to reality. And then like there was this moment to where I felt like all of a sudden I became just aware. Like, you know, like you just wake up, you're like, oh shit, like that's what's been going on all this time. But I felt like that was like, now I'm living in this state, and my whole life is what I just woke up from. I was like, dude, are my kids real? Like, did I go to work the other day? Like, my best friend, like, did that really happen? I questioned everything, dude. I was freaking the fuck out for a second. Yeah, it was an intense moment. And then, like, I fucking brought myself back down and everything. I came back to reality, and like, I ended up going out later, like, that day. But the issue was, I realized, like, why I had such a...
Was this was during the day, clearly?
This was during the day. Like, I had probably like 6 hours until I needed to go out. I had plenty of time, really, but because I felt like
that's an
No,
intense
no, 6
time.
hours is not plenty of time.
Well-
Okay.
for psilocybin though, I just felt like
Yeah.
you know I can lay down, but I felt like in that moment, if I lay down, I'm not gonna wake up until tomorrow. I'm like, because I'm just going off. Like
Yeah.
I'm no longer in this plane of existence anymore, and I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to disappear from this plane, but I had no choice. I had no choice but to go. Right. So I went there.
That's a tough place to be.
I fought it as
when
as
it's
hard
telling
as
you, it's like, come with us, man, and you're like, I can't. I got shit to do later. Like,
Nope.
They're like, all the secrets are over
There's
here.
no whisper, and they're like, "Go, bitch."
Yeah.
like
Yeah, at those high doses, man, like it's
it was a good learning experience. I don't think they're really like quote unquote bad trips. I think there can be challenging
Totally.
experiences, and it's just
Totally.
like whatever you take from it. I always learn from those. Like I never like let those steer me from things because I know why that happened. And it's like, all right, well next time, like let's just be fucking smarter. Like I still got some really good downloads from the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked on our show about it. Like, you know, for me, I don't have hard experiences anymore. It's the most egotistical thing, the most egocentric thing that comes out of my trips because for the most part, you know, it definitely highlights your oneness,
Yeah.
right? But the most egotistical thing about all of it is that I'm typically envious of people that have had a hard purge and a hard go, maybe a scary go, had like my last, and I'm not exaggerating, my last 14 psychedelic experiences have been rainbows and sunshine.
Oh,
Man.
really?
Like I am a happy, not even so much happy, just I am a very content traveler. And
Yeah.
I'm just kind of making the most of what I can. I mean, some things can kind of throw me on tilt for a minute, but like I'm pretty good at reeling that in.
Yeah.
So like I see friends at an ayahuasca ceremony or something like that are having this purge and then, you know, sharing their purge with people and what it looked like to puke those demons up and what it
Yeah.
felt like to do all that. And I'm like, oh,
It feels so good to work through those tough experiences.
I agree.
I've had a few of them.
I agree.
And it's always like what's your mindset going into it is usually going to dictate like what that experience is. But they can be super powerful. They can definitely help people. I feel like I stopped fighting 2 years ago. I don't have the desire to compete like in a physical space like that anymore. And I wonder some of it is just because like has my ego been shut down because of the number of experiences I have? Like I don't have that anymore. There's something there.
I don't know.
I think there's something there.
I always think, you know, with the jiu-jitsu, you know, learning more about jiu-jitsu with like the high rollers tournament and stuff like that, how you can kind of incorporate some of these plant medicines into it. I thought, you know, if two guys do have that warrior spirit and maybe have blasted off a few times, that, you know, you almost get more of a respect for someone that you're trying to beat him in battle. But I could see where you're like, oh, I don't want to get punched in the face anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how old did you say you were? 31?
I'm 31.
31.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of that probably comes with our.
Some of it's with age. I still love to compete and train jiu-jitsu. Well, not compete. I still love to train and improve and like compete in the practice room. But like even doing jiu-jitsu tournaments or just like there's a lot of ego in MMA, especially. There's combat sports, right? I mean, you kind of have to be.
I would hope so.
You're the big chimp on the hill.
Yeah, the best fighter should have a little spunk.
You have to. And then like once you don't have that anymore, you just can't be competitive.
All the best fighters have the best spunk.
Oh, for sure. Steve taste tests them. Whenever you're trying to handicap fighters, you send Steve into a room. He comes out. He's like, "This kid's 6'5".
And he's got a little HGH in there.
Yeah,
I'm also testing for drugs.
Yes, for sure.
It stays in the protein
No,
longer.
there's something to it though, man. Like I my competitive drive was absolutely not even just my competitive drive. Steve and I talk about it all the time. I'm 34 years old. There were 30 years of my life where sports were, I'll call it 28 years of my life where sports were everything.
Yeah.
I knew the sport of every game that was going on TV. Like the TV was running. Like I knew I was a pretty good fantasy player and everything just because I knew random crap about.
Oh, yeah. SportsCenter played 5 times in a row in the morning.
Back to back to back.
And I would just be like, watch the top 10 again. Oh, man, I wonder what happens
I mean,
this
and just
time.
burn that into your brain. So, like, with all of that, and I was, I competed, and Steve was talking about this, too. Like, our parents allowed us to play every sport imaginable
CYC was,
as a kid.
yeah,
Like,
it was easy.
CYC was affordable. Growing up as a kid in the city, like, playing sports and playing competitive sports, we were, pretty active little kids. Like, it was fairly reasonable. And now, as dads, to try and get your kid to play competitive baseball right now or try and get your kid to play competitive soccer, you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars a year.
Dude, it's fucking big business to have these kids play sports.
It's
year-round.
outrageous, man. And, like, they've actually priced out what could be a lot of really great little athletic kids. 'Cause,
Definitely.
like, some of the best kids that I played with growing up
God,
were the most ragtag, poorest kids in
They
the
didn't have a
in the
TV.
neighborhood.
They had to go kick around a soccer
Yeah,
ball.
kick around a wet
lumpy
newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. And then they go like, "Oh, soccer ball's a lot easier than my uncle's severed head." Sorry, flashback for a minute.
Especially if it's like an oblong head.
Exactly.
Uncle Milt.
It doesn't roll
Yeah,
well.
They played rugby.
Oh.
They just made do.
Oh.
Life gives you
Well,
lemons.
you smash his skull with a hammer enough, you'll be able to mold it however you want.
It's totally malleable.
I love the word malleable.
It's a good word.
I love that word.
I like making noises with my mouth.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Steve's a guttural guy.
I like it when it comes from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fellas, I know you guys have something pretty soon, so I want to be respectful of your time.
What are you done talking to or something? I'll sit here all night. This
Dude,
is a great conversation.
you guys said you had a
You're
board
great.
meeting in like 25 minutes.
All right, thank you. He mentioned the board meeting. I'm good with it.
We're
I'm
gonna
good with it.
do,
He mentioned we're board
we
members.
can give me we are kind of a big deal.
You guys are pretty important
What time
when,
is it?
when you're on a board.
Yeah, we'll get it. We got it, girl. Probably.
Okay, 10 minutes. 5 minutes.
6:50.
Roll.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
do a
yeah.
6:50.
Let's just do 50.
Oh,
A couple minute
let's-
wrap
yeah.
up.
We'll
Let's
wrap it up. Yeah,
Let's wrap it up.
I'll turn it over to you guys. Like, if you want to tell the folks kind of, how they can get a hold of you. Your personal pages. Obviously, the Hoosier Sophisticate page.
I'll go
What's up
first.
next? Spit it, guys.
I'm not gonna sit here. I'm gonna let Craig do the stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you about we're at Hoosier Sophisticate on Facebook and on Instagram and mycelial media on YouTube. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that. Okay, what I'm gonna give you is a little gem. All right, thank you is an action. Okay, people. All right, that's what we're dealing with. If you want to give thanks, go out there and give it. Go out and be a better person, okay? Be better than you were the day before. And if you're not, it's okay, because you're just a series of little decisions. Try to make some good ones. Listen to your heart. Listen to Adam and Steve, okay? Craig, it's your turn.
It was Adam and Eve. Genesis clearly.
Adam and
It was Adam and
Steve.
Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Good call.
Guys, we would love for you to follow along with Hoosier Sophisticate on all major podcasting platforms except for Spotify. Fuck those guys.
Because they switched to make you do MP3s.
Well, because we got a lot of music, because we're a radio show, so
Back in
there's
the day.
a lot of music that is all of our rejoins and stuff like that. So
Even
we
like
would,
YouTube supermarket music, they're
we
like,
would
"Ugh, flag
essentially
it."
lose half of our downloaded content. So that's one of the struggles with being on the radio. So probably the last 5 months or so, we've had some our own music and opens and things like that, things we have permission to. So yeah, you can check us out on all major platforms. If I got to leave you with something.
You don't have to.
No.
Life isn't linear.
Life
Life is not linear, man.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, baby.
make good decisions.
I already
or
said
don't.
that.
Did you say make good decisions?
I said,
Oh,
we're just a
shit.
series of little tiny decisions. Make good ones,
Oh, good job.
Thank you.
Damn, Steve
Adam
got
liked
deep
it.
on me, guys.
I did go deep on him.
I'm also a big fan of not giving, gargle. I'm a big fan of not everything having to have a meaning.
And let me tell you about this. I'll sum it up for Craig. This guy has the best outlook on life. Like, even if shit is hitting the fan all around him, he is a steady rock, at least around, the business side and around friendship, like I couldn't ask for a better dude.
My guy.
Like he's just even keel and always willing to get into the crazy shit with me because I've run through friends. You can tell. Like you said, it takes a while to like him.
Yeah.
I'm 15 minutes and you're done with me for life. Like this is going to be, you'll get the highest numbers you ever had on this podcast at first. 10, 15 minutes into it, it's going to be a big drop off because they're going to be like, that guy is talking too much with him. But that's what I got to say about Craig. He's just a
Sometimes
awesome
wasting time is just wasting time, man. And when it is, it allows you to kind of tune into what other people are doing around you. You know,
He's
like
Matthew
not
McConaughey.
Not
from Dazed
everything
and
has to
Confused.
have a. Not everything
Without all
has
the
to have a. Without all the statutory rape. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I guess stay the same age. Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, that's all I got, man. Check us out. Thanks for having us on the podcast.
Yeah,
Adam,
thank you
dude.
so
This is a
much.
blast.
Oh, shout out to our wives too, because they're the ones watching
kids.
things. Yeah, or whatever. But
Good call.
they'll never listen to this. They probably actually are subscribed.
10
to
years,
yours.
they're listening to it like right now.
That's why I do all this. So when my son's like 25,
It's a
they're
time
like,
capsule, man.
my
Really
dad
is,
was a
dude.
freak of nature. So shout out to Jenny, shout out to Missy, because they're everything, man.
Right on.
They hold it all together, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, hey, you guys are awesome. I love you both. I feel
Love
like
you too, man.
You guys are brothers. I've only known you guys for like 2 weeks now or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It was cool, man. It
Forever,
was great
so.
to meet you. We love
Yeah.
to see other people doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just getting the word
Peers,
out.
baby.
Challenging the way people are thinking, man. Like I love
Yeah.
the name of your podcast, man. Like that's all we've ever sought to bring to anybody was just a little perspective.
It's all we're all searching for, man. So, all right, guys. Until next time.
And that was great.